Is now a full-scale civil war. That from the United Nations peacekeeping chief in what appears to be the starkest international assessment of this conflict to date. And it comes as the descent into chaos appears to be intensifying. New reports of children being tortured and killed as government attacks continue. This is amateur video of what's said to be an artillery attack in the city of Homs, but we cannot verify its authenticity. And take a look at this. Video of a shell landing on a building just a few feet from where children are playing. The UN now reports rebels hold large chunks of territory. But this afternoon, State Department spokeswoman Victoria Nuland said it is still the Assad regime that is to blame for the death and destruction.
We have a spiraling escalation of violence led by the Assad regime, and they have it in their hands to stop this. Arms that the regime has are not being used for external defense. They're not being used for external planning. They're being used to kill their own citizens, especially civilians, women and children and men.
At the same time, it appears this war could soon take another dramatic turn. We're told the government is now using attack helicopters in addition to tanks, troops, artillery, and mortars. And according to Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, it appears those helicopters are coming from Russia. The Fox Report's chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt live with more. And Jonathan, the UN is accusing the Syrian regime of carrying out really appalling atrocities against kids.
Yet they are, Trace, and it is quite a list of accusations that the United Nations has laid out against the Syrian security forces. Here's some of what they say they are doing to children: killing, maiming, torturing, arresting, raping, and using them as human shields. I spoke to the UN's Special Representative for Children and Armed Conflict over at the United Nations here in New York earlier today, and she told me that what is happening in Syria is some of the worst violence against children she has ever seen. Listen.
It's beyond heartbreaking. It's really numbing. You're really just shocked that anyone is capable of hurting children in this way.
What would your direct message be to President Assad and those of his forces who are perpetrating these acts of violence and abuse against children?
Please stop. Just stop these violations against children. It's absolutely unacceptable.
And the Special Representative also warned President Assad that ultimately he will be held accountable for what the UN says are these crimes against children. Trace.
Jonathan, I want to go back to these helicopters. The Secretary of State making direct accusations now against Russia.
Yeah, we've all known for quite some time, of course, that Russia has been giving military supplies to the Syrians, but the Secretary of State implied today that this is a new shipment of attack helicopters that is going from Russia to Syria. And remember, these are exactly the type of helicopters that are increasingly being used by the Syrians in attacks against civilians. Here's the Secretary of State earlier today. Listen.
We are concerned about the latest information we have that there are attack helicopters on the way from Russia to Syria, which will escalate the conflict quite dramatically.
Now, those sorts of comments are likely to annoy the Russians, but the Secretary of State seems less concerned about angering the Russian government and more concerned about shaming it for its part in the ongoing brutality in Syria. Trace?
The Fox Sports chief correspondent Jonathan Hunt live in our New York studio. Jonathan, thank you.